Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. We are on the clock now with Josh and Jake. So before we get started, Josh, how you doing today?
Good. Glad to be on for another episode. We got a good amount of prospects we're talking about, 4 on both sides of the ball this time. Really high production athletes, a couple under the radar guys as well. Going to be a lot of hot names that will be talked about in day 1 and day 2 of the draft coming up. So really excited to get into it. But thanks for having me on for another week. If you guys haven't already, like, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you haven't. Last episode we had over 100 views on our first one. So we're going to be continuing these every week. Thank you guys for all the support. Just ready to go.
And Jake, how about you? How you doing today?
Hey, it's Monday, and I'm ready to talk some football. It was a good Saturday and Sunday, but now we're back in the trenches. We're talking linebackers. We're talking running backs. Let's get to it.
Fantastic. So, Josh, our first player that we have up is Mr. Tristan Sinclair. So what can you tell us about Mr. Sinclair?
So Sinclair was a guy not on my radar coming in before this week. Excuse me. 4-star recruit coming out of Stanford. Saw a little action in his first 2 years. Appeared in 11 games as a junior. Started all games as a senior with 37 tackles. His 5th year, 71 total tackles in 12 starts, earning him all honorable mention for the Pac-12. He has 47 tackles so far this year through 9 games with 1 sack. You look at his measurables, 6'1", 235 pounds, an unofficial 4.76 40, which leaves him as an adequate speed athlete, putting it in relative terms. He's a well-built linebacker with adequate athletic ability, shows adequate foot speed, change of direction, lateral agility, but good strength when in frame, working downhill in the run game and run defense. And I'll just say what I have for my big strengths as the run game, and then I'll pass it off to Jake to see what he has in the run game. So when watching Sinclair, went through 3 games of him, he works best when working downhill on early downs and gap runs as a Mike linebacker. He shows solid mental processing on A-gap runs, good pursuit and hip power when working downfield. And then once he's in the backfield, he's a solid tackler using his arm length and strength to finish plays. I saw a little bit of weakness when he's working the outside zone runs, B-gaps and C-gaps, showing limited athletic ability to get in his spot and in phase early enough to make a play on the ball carrier. Sometimes when he's not working downhill, his eyes will get lost in the backfield for me, kind of leaving him in no man's land. But he does have the mental processing and good pursuit to make plays on the ball carrier downhill. Jake, what do you see in Sinclair's game?
Sinclair is really a guy that I did not have on my radar at all. Actually dove in the tape today. So this is fresh on my mind. But like you said, traditional Mike linebacker, really the cornerstone of that Stanford defense over there. Flying around 6'1", 236, like you see on the screen. I see how he transitions at the next level. This is a developmental piece. This isn't a guy that you're spending a day 1 or day 2 pick on for sure. But this is like, what I see him as is a 7th round pick, potentially a priority UDFA as of right now. He can continue to grow with that and potentially move into the 6th or 5th round potentially, because he does have a lot of good traits that you like for a linebacker. And this year, there's not a lot of guys that you can look as that just stick him in and the 1st and 2nd down. He's going to stuff the run really well, has long arms to get into coverage and break up some of those balls. He does get a little lost in coverage is what I noticed firsthand, but he does have a lot of those toolsy traits that you want. And this is a guy that you could potentially look at as special teams. This is a guy you can put out as a gunner. You can put him on punt return, whatever you want. And he has a potential to stick on a roster in here in a few years or so. That's a guy that you can stick in there for the almost that short yardage specialist. You put him in there when the game's on the line, 4th and 1, you need a stop. He can do that for you. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that's probably, out of who we're going to talk about, probably lowest on my list as of now. But we'll see. He can grow from now. We're only midway through the season.
Okay, and we're starting low, so let's build up, and let's go to our next player, Mr. Karene Reid from Utah. So Jake, Why don't you kick this one off?
Yeah, Karene is a guy that I liked his tape a lot, checking him out. This is a guy that's been on the scene for a while for Utah, broke really as a second-year player when he had 6 sacks over there for the Utes, and he brings the boom. He's like the Costco guys. He can breathe the boom. He does have some issues wrapping up at times, which is concerning, and he is undersized. But with the day and age of linebackers we are in the NFL, they're getting smaller. So that's not the end of the road for this dude. So I think if he can continue to expand his repertoire of getting off blocks, which is something he probably does struggle with, which is probably my biggest concern. He can get flushed out down the line, and being as short as he is, I feel like his eyes aren't at the right place at the right time. If he sees it, he's hammering it. He's going home. But if he doesn't, he can get completely washed out of the play, which is very concerning. But at the end of the day, I think this is a guy that can almost be a special teams ace for you. This isn't a guy that I think you are drafting for his linebacker potential. I think this is a guy that can stick on rosters for many years to come just based off that alone. So this is a guy you can take a day 3 pick on, I think, and probably hit out of the park. GMs in this day and age, when they get to day 3, they're not looking at who's the best linebacker out there. They want a guy that can contribute early and often on special teams, and I think that's where Karene fits that bill.
Josh, how about you?
Agreed, almost everything you said. I mean, undersized and underweight for a linebacker, but has the production over the past 3 years to counterbalance that. One thing I love about Reid is his alignment versatility. He has experience as a Will, as a Mike, as a Sam, and even as an edge defender. And for someone as undersized as him, he can contain the edge well, showing good knee bend, and he can anchor down. Not a limited speed athlete. He has adequate strength in my mind. I think he has room to add weight at the next level. In the passing game, he shows fluent movement skills in zone and man coverage. He understands assignments well. He brings good tackling, good intelligence, and he brings a high motor to the table. Like you said, my first-year role for him as a depth linebacker and a core special teamer that can provide value with his IQ, tackling, and hustle. And then I think along the line, he could turn into a rotational Will/Sam linebacker with potential solid starter to adequate starter range, where he improves his range and zone coverage as well as his strength down the down. Right now, I have a 6th-round grade on him, but a GM, like you said, is going to look at him as a day 3 guy that's going to provide core special teams value, and really you can put at a lot of places on defense.
Something I hated about what Utah's doing with him is they like to move him out of that Will spot and put him almost as a Sam. They want to put him on the line of scrimmage, and that's where he does not do his best work, and they continuously do that. And I don't know if you got to check the BYU game last Saturday, but they should have won that game. He put them in a great spot, and even to end it, 4th and 10, he provides a sack at the very end on that last drive and flags out, holding on the defense, 1st and 10, and BYU ends up driving the field and winning that football game. That was one of the biggest things that came away from me. I was like, all right, when you needed him to make a play, he made a play, and he did it very well. So when he's moving forward, Karene is a monster. It's when he sees it, and that's the biggest thing. But, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, you needed him. He did his job. Unfortunately, it didn't go the Utes' way, though.
You knew BYU was going to win that game after that penalty. That's a whole different topic.
So with preseason rankings, Reid was actually in the top 10 linebackers of the class. So, like, Jake, as I'm listening to you, I'm saying, okay, there's glimpses of what got him the preseason hype. But I also would definitely like to point out that, and we did this last week, but I'll point it out again. Every team drafts a running back and a linebacker on average each year. So 25 running backs get drafted, 25 linebackers get drafted. And even if they're not starting for you, they're picking up key special teams snaps along the way. And then if you're in the situation that, like, I'm a Bills fan, Buffalo's down. Like, Buffalo last week could only dress 4 linebackers. Like, it seems like half of our linebacking core is either on IR or hurt and can't dress on the 53. So if you have a linebacker that you can dress on Sunday, if they're one of the 48 guys that you can give a jersey to on game day, that's a huge add or a huge win in rounds 5, 6, and 7 of the draft. So I think now we're moving up to big boy territory. So
we've jumped a tier, to say the least.
Yes. So, Josh, why don't you kick off Mr. Jihaad Campbell? I'm sorry.
In a relatively kind of, you can say weaker linebacker class, not really. There's a lot of guys in this linebacker class. Jihaad is the cream of the crop, at least of right now. 5-star recruit coming out. He was a top-ranked edge rusher coming out, but they moved him to off-ball linebacker, showcasing his versatility. 6'3" and 0.2 244 pounds with a 4.52 unofficial 40. That puts him in almost 90th percentile for a speed athlete at the linebacker position. And his athletic ability is as good as almost anybody off the ball. Very good speed, good lateral movement skills, natural pursuits, sideline to sideline range. He shows good strength, tackling in space, shedding blockers, and pass rushing. If you just watched the LSU game last week, you saw exactly what Jihaad Campbell brings to the next level. Not as refined as a linebacker as you would like to see coming out, but he's still making that transition from edge rusher to linebacker. So at times you will see some lapse in zone coverage where he over pursues a window or doesn't stay in phase, but most of the time or not, he has the athletic ability to make up for any mental mistakes he makes in the open field. Not only can he affect the game in run defense with his long arms, his length, his tackling, and his pursuit, but he's a damn good cover linebacker as well, and he's more than a viable option as a blitzer off the edge, as a Will, as a Mike. You can line him up almost anywhere on the field, just kind of like how Karene Reid was, but Campbell checks all the athletic ability boxes you're looking for at a prototypical linebacker at the next level. Me right now, I have him as a starting linebacker right away, day one. That brings good tackling and pass defense. Right now, he's my linebacker one. I don't know where he stacks up with you, Jake, but I have a first-round grade on Jihaad Campbell, and I think he'll be one of the, if not the only linebacker, I'll have a first-round grade on this cycle.
Yeah, I'll say Jihaad I have as LB2 right now, which is saying a lot because I don't think he was on my board to start the year. We know Alabama, they develop these athletes, and Campbell is the freak of this positional class, to say the least. I mean, 6'3", 244, long arms, like you said, converted edge. So he offers that pass rush ability, and we saw that against LSU last week where he had 1.5 sacks. He had the pressures, but he needs to get better at the intricacies of the position. We see too much wedding steps is what I call them, where they take a half step forward. They don't know exactly if they're going just yet, but once he sees it, he is going, and he is going fast. So I think Jihaad is a guy that's probably going to get drafted very high, and he might need to develop a little bit. I think this is a guy that comes in as a rookie, gets the starting job, maybe doesn't play the best as a rookie, and people start labeling him. I'm not going to say bust, but you get him where you get him. And then he's going to develop. And then in 3-4 years, we're talking about as one of the best inside linebackers potentially in the game. That's where we're getting out of Jihaad. And I think the sky's the limit for this kid because everything he does well. So pass coverage, I mean, he looks like a strong safety in pass coverage. And then the tackling, he's got those long arms. He is an arms tackler. So I do enjoy that. And at the end of the day, that athleticism, like you said, when he doesn't see it, he has the ability to redirect and get there really quick. So at the end of the day, Jihaad should probably get drafted in the first round, if not early second is where I see him right now.
So, Josh, if you had to pick a defensive coordinator that you'd want to see Jihaad Campbell play for, could you think of one defensive coordinator where you think his play style fits?
I wouldn't say this is necessarily his best fit, but I did a 2-round mock last night just on my own. And if he's there for the Eagles somewhere in the late first round, I think Vic Fangio is going to snatch him up just because Zach Bond has been very productive this year, and the Kobe Dean has taken a great step this year. But to add that size, speed, and length to that linebacker room would do insurmountable things to that Eagles defense. So I would love to see him in Philadelphia personally.
And Jake, if you had to pick a defensive coordinator for him, who are you thinking?
I like that answer. I would really like to see him in Baltimore. I think he just fits that scheme very well. He can get him downhill fast, but he has the ability to flow sideline to sideline. And the Ravens asked their linebackers to do a lot in that scheme. And I think he could be a great fill-in there. So potentially, and I think he could be there towards when they're picking. So that might be a good fit.
Okay, and our last linebacker of the day, Jay Higgins from Iowa.
Yeah, I'll kick this one off. I love Jay. I loved Jay last year. I loved him the year before that. 6'2", 232. At that size, he could probably still add some more muscle to that frame. This is not a uber athlete by any means, and that's probably going to be his biggest knock. He just gets the job done. He just does what he needs to do. He's in the right place at the right time. And this is a guy that I think is going to get underdrafted by a team, and then they're going to come away with steal. We're going to talk about the combine, and we're going to talk about all these physical traits that he does not have. And at the end of the day, I could see him coming out as the best linebacker in this class potentially. Over at Iowa, they're doing it right. They teach them. They develop the defensive players. They can't say they do anything for the offensive player, but defense, they do it right. So at the end of the day, Jay Higgins is a undervalued prospect, I think, and he's going to be a home run for somebody.
Absolutely. Agreed on that. First team All-American last year, 217 tackles over his 45-game career, adding 3 interceptions this year as well. Ultra productive. If you turn on the Ohio State game this year, you'll just see the motor that he brings. You see a screen to the left side, backside of him. He runs 20 yards downfield to force a fumble on Jeremiah Smith. That just shows you what type of linebacker you're getting in Jay Higgins. And you're right. He's going to fall down in the drafts just because of his athletic ability. He's not going to blow you away with his speed, with his strength. He does have room to add at the next level. And that's the only thing that's drawing him back, because sometimes you'll see him get sucked up in second-level blocks due to his size, but can still execute a stack and shed, stay on the play, and still make a play around the blocker and make the tackle. And he's really instinctive in zone coverage. He understands his assignments. He knows where to go. He can also execute in man coverage. And like you said, I don't think he'll go day 2 in my mind just because of his athletic ability, but he has all the production to show for. But once the 4th round starts coming around, I don't see how this guy falls out of the 4th round in my mind.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. So the linebackers were a really good warm-up act for the 100-plus people watching online. So while we are flipping to running backs, Jake, commercial, tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, you can check me out at Glory Day Sports on all social media. You can check me out at the Morning Glory Show live every Thursday morning with B. Will and Jonathan Miller as we talk all things Titans and draft. So come check us out over there, or we'll be here every Monday for the foreseeable future. Check out Jim and the draft content that's coming out on a daily. Go follow on Twitter. But yeah, Glory Day Sports and NFL Draft Fanatics, and check out Josh as well, and I'll let him take it over.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at JuiceT23. We're going to be doing updated content daily on the updated prospects day to day. We're going to be doing this show every Monday talking about running backs and linebackers throughout this draft cycle. I might be popping in here and there talking about different position groups. Might be on tomorrow talking about a top 50 board we'll be looking at. Go follow Glory Day. Go follow NFL Draft Fanatic. They bring hands down probably the best draft coverage you're going to find on a consistent basis. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to be doing this every Monday. We're having a lot of fun with this already.
And to the 108 of you over on Twitter, I can see it right now. I want you to do us a favor. I want you to go over to YouTube. You're going to type in that search bar. You're going to put NFL Draft Fanatics. You're going to find that live stream over there. You're going to subscribe first. You're going to click that bell so you get the notifications, all that good stuff. But then you're going to like this video and comment down below any of your questions. So do us a favor. It costs you nothing, and it means a lot to the channel.
Jake, Josh, thank you very much. So my name's Jim. You can find me on Twitter at NFL Draft Fanatic. There is no I in Fanatic, at least on my Twitter. As far as what Jake and Josh said, this podcast is daily. So today it's Josh and Jake. Tomorrow it's going to be Josh and Randall, and there might be a couple of other people that are going to be reviewing Dane Brugler's top 50 that he's releasing tomorrow. Every day we're reviewing a position. So we've got, I think, edge and offensive tackle on Wednesday, defensive line and interior line Thursday, and then we got wide receivers and corners on Friday. So if you ask yourself, like they've been saying, we're going to be doing running backs and linebackers for the foreseeable future. How many episodes do we have to do to cover all the running backs? If we're only covering 4 running backs per episode, how many do we have to do to get through this awesome running back class? And let's kick it off, Josh, about Mr. Cameron Scadabo from Arizona State.
So before we get into Scadabo himself, the reason why I love this process so much in this draft scout process, not only figuring out where everybody ranks up in the coming year, but also figuring out and learning about guys like Cam Scadabo. We'll talk about his production and what he brings as a running back, but 0-star prospect transferring from Sacramento State. And the one thing I want to highlight last year, he was a spot running back. He played about 50% of snaps, but last year when they needed him to, he was a punter. He punted 8 times last year for an average of 44 yards, and that's not going to mean shit in the scouting report about him as a running back. But just little stuff like that, just it honestly makes my world.
So I did not know he was a punter.
Yeah,
but for anybody that is a Bills fan and we follow Abandon the Punt, because there is a Bills account that just says we don't need to roster a punter or a long snapper ever again. Scadabo saves us a roster spot now. So go ahead, Josh. Carry on. But I had to get the Abandon the Punt take in.
So standing 5'9", 6/10", 215 pounds with a 4.59 unofficial 40. He was one of the more fun running back prospects I got to look at. He brings a combination of vision, patience, and awareness. He's scheme versatile. He's taken snaps at quarterback, throwing the ball, wide receiver, running in line as a slot receiver, at tight end at times. Shows good vision. He's a limited athlete due to his size, but that doesn't deteriorate him at all. Shows solid burst for a guy projected to run in the high 4.5s. He's a hard tackle, showing very good contact balance in the second level with a low center of gravity and good knee bend. Bigger linebackers will be able to swallow him up, but when going against defensive backs, especially in the second level, he will lower a shoulder like no other. He is an old school throwback style of running back. I was listening to Arizona State's head coach compare him to Bucky Irving, which is kind of a weird comparison, but when you're looking pound for pound, he brings a lot of similarities in his running style to Bucky, maybe not as efficient as a pass catcher, but in the passing game, he has the hands and the football intelligence to be a reliable check down and screen option. Good mental processing. He has adequate change of direction skills. And as a blocker, he's solid at a marginal size. His toughness and his willingness will enable him to get low and really displace blitzers through the A and B gap. For me, I have him as a durable running back at a smaller size with very good contact balance, mental processing, and vision. I would love to see someone like the Chiefs snag him in the later rounds and pair him up in that backfield, and Andy Reid could have some fun with Scadabo. I have a day 3 grade on him, but if he was somewhat of a taller or faster athlete, there'd be no doubt in my mind he'd be higher ranked on my board.
Hey, Jake, I think you're on mute.
There we go. Yeah. So I agree with everything that Josh said. Old school dude. When I turned on the tape initially, I went, all right, another white running back. We're going to get what we get out of this. Let's see what he's got. And first play, I'm like, all right, he can lower the shoulder. He can fight for some extra yards. He's got that check mark. All right, next play, pass pro does a good job there. All right, maybe we got something here. And then last week, he had that beautiful over-the-shoulder tracking, catches the ball to move the Arizona State downfield. I was like, all right, maybe he's got some pass catching chops too. And then he breaks the long run there at the end. And I was like, okay, maybe he's got some speed. So I think Scattaboo really is very versatile. I don't think he is a 1A in a backfield at the next level, but I think this is a guy that you can play him on special teams. I think he can get touches at the backfield. You can have him out there on third down. So at the end of the day, he is moving up my draft board pretty far. And I mean, it's not crazy to say somebody takes a shot on him in day 2, but as of right now, early day 3 is kind of where I see him. But he is flying up draft boards right now across the industry. I can tell you that. And what he is able to bring to a team, somebody's going to take a shot on him, I think. So I really like Scattaboo.
Cool. Okay, TreVeyon Henderson. So, Jake, you want to kick that one off?
I'll kick this one off. TreVeyon, I am very happy returned to school this season. I did not like Henderson coming into this year, and I thought somebody we'll talk about later in the show, Judkins was going to just run away with this job. But TreVeyon, number 1 running back coming out as a 5-star in his class. So he had all of these very high expectations coming into Ohio State and showed glimpses of that throughout his career there. But this year, I think he really has taken that next step forward. Some of the things I didn't like about him is pass pro was very hit and miss. I think he's one of the better pass pro running backs in this class now. And then on the other side, receiving game, he was a guy that you could roll out into the flat. You could throw a screen to him. And then he had that ability to make people miss in the open field and then take it a long ways. But he was not a route savant by any means. Somebody posted a clip earlier this week from this last week's game where he's running a post corner on the out wide and breaking the corner's ankles. So he is showing improvement, which is what you want. You might not have a finished product out of Henderson, and where he already is gives you a pretty decent showing. So Bill Sparks in the chat, he believes he is David Montgomery out of Detroit right now, and I really like that comp. David Montgomery does it all for them, and he really allows Jamar Gibbs to shine because he can fill in all those gaps. So that is what you're getting at TreVeyon as well. So I'll kick it to you, Josh. What do you think out of Henderson?
His biggest asset that he brings to his team is his speed, burst, and acceleration with home run hitting ability. He has good agility, like you said, in the open field. He has solid strength for a smaller size running back. He has shown improvements in pass protection, like you said, this year. And he's always been a reliable check down option, but now he's adding more nuance in the passing game as well. Questions for me, it's all about durability for me. A little bit of concern with patience behind the line of scrimmage, but I do think that can be coached into him at the next level. Absolutely. My comparison I had for him was J.K. Dobbins for the Chargers. I think they're eerily similar in their build. And before J.K. was injured, his home run hitting speed was up there with some of the best in the league. And I think TreVeyon Henderson can immediately come in as a third down back and split 50% of the carries using his speed, burst, and pass protection to impact games. In the long run, he can turn into a 3-down back that can break away and take over games. But the durability is going to be the biggest question mark for me, showing improvement in his patience. But he really does bring the speed that you're looking for as a running back with good burst and acceleration. Right now, I have a second to third round grade on him. But like you said, this is a really good speed athlete at the running back position.
No lie, I asked ChatGPT earlier today, what is your comp for TreVeyon Henderson? And what they kicked out was J.K. Dobbins. No lie at all.
That's great.
So I'm not saying we haven't met Josh in person yet. And AI avatars are getting crazy right now. Yeah. Not confirming or denying that Josh might be AI.
And Jake, did I hear you give a round grade?
I did not. Man, somebody's going to take a shot on him potentially in day 2. If that's what occurs, I'm kicking that ball down the road. I'm letting somebody else take that shot. Just like Josh said, he has struggled with injuries. He had the foot injury, and I'm not like Rex Ryan. I don't deal with feet, especially at the running back position. So if he's there early day 3, I'd take the shot, but I would look at a guy like Scattaboo or one of these other prospects we're going to talk here in a second about, Giddens. I would really like him. This is a deep running back class.
Yeah.
We're in week 2 of this, and I have so many guys that I would take in round 3 over Henderson in round 2. Or in round 3.
This is going to be a class where a lot of guys that are graded higher than – there are going to be a lot of guys that are graded higher where they go just because of how many guys there are. This class compared to last year's class is night and day.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But even Jake, I even liked the comment where you said that even though Scatterbo might be a lower rated prospect, you're even thinking you would like him more than Henderson.
I don't know if I would like him more. I would like him for where I'm able to get him more.
Yeah.
You almost got to play that
That's
game.
a better way to say it. Yes.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of conversations that we want to have.
Yep.
There's a cost benefit analysis with draft capital.
Yep.
Those discussions are coming, but we're not having them in November. We're going to have those in January and February.
Yep.
Okay. So who's up for Quinshon Judkins? Is this Josh kicking this one off?
I'll start with Judkins. Judkins not even coming to this year. He's one of my favorite just college players in general, not even talking from a scouting lens. He's one of my favorite guys. I like Scattaboo, a little bit of a throwback back, but he shows like the toughness and the downhill running that almost like it resembles like almost the 2000s runners in a way. He brings both burst and power, making him a hard tackle in open field. He runs with a purpose. He's very good after contact due to his toughness, strength, and balance. He's good at mental processing, pre-snap and post-snap, understanding the time of blocks and hits to hold hard. There are questions about his home run hitting ability. His speed doesn't hinder him in any way. It's not going to be a deterrent for him at the next level, but it's not on par with some of the guys that we're going to be talking about in this cycle. In the pass game, he has reliable hands, and he has shown vast improvements as a pass catcher and as a pass blocker. Soft hands out of the backfield, has the ability to run efficient routes with acceleration out of his breaks. And though not really asked to do much in Ohio State, more asked to do that in Ole Miss. For me, I project him as a future 3-down back just because of his makeup and his power / yards after contact. I would take him somewhere early on day 2 in the second round. I don't think he falls out of the second round in my mind. And I think he can turn into a 3-down back sooner than later in the NFL. And then real quick, I kind of comp him to Joe Mixon in a way, just in his running style. And Joe Mixon has kind of revitalized his career in a way with Houston. I think Houston Joe Mixon right now is eerily similar to how Quinshon Judkins plays.
I really like Quinshon Judkins. I really like Joe Mixon. As my hat's turned backwards, but it's an Oklahoma hat. And Joe Mixon was a prospect coming out, sharing that backfield with Samaje Perine at Oklahoma. That's the TreVeyon Henderson there. They might get a little slightly more touches, but you see that ability that translate to the next level and might be the better prospect overall. Judkins is that. He can do it all for you. I agree, early day 2. Maybe late round 2 is kind of where I see him right now because it's really him, guy we talked about last week, Amari and Hampton, and then obviously Ashton Jeanty. Those are my big 3. Him and Hampton are very close for me, and they really were coming into the year as well. So Judkins is a bell cow back at the next level and a dying breed. This is the guy that you can give 30 carries to and play that high T system for. If we're looking for a good fit, I would love him to see in the Chargers uniform. I think Judkins fills in there. Potentially, if J.K. Dobbins moves on from there, Gus Edwards, Harbaugh, he is high T to the max. This is a guy that can run that backfield for you. So I think as a runner, he is elusive. Broken tackle or missed tackles for us last season. One of the upper echelons there, and he's doing it again at Ohio State. Very awkward runner, in my opinion. Drunken master is what I wrote down when I talked about his running style. He does run a little high at times. I think he could lower that pad level, get you some of those short yardage gains. But he is good one of the better pass pro backs this season. Him and Henderson is just an embarrassment of riches over there at Ohio State, which is why they are being as good as they are this season. And Bill, in the comments, he just threw it up. But Judkins has shades of Kareem Hunt mixed with Brian Robinson Jr. from Washington. Yep. I see that 110%. I think he is Kareem Hunt, but just juiced up to 11. I love it.
I like that. Turn it up to 11. That's the I'm already forgetting that movie that was around when I was a kid. You turn the volume to 11. I forgot the name of the movie. But I have a different question for you, Jake, because you flashed the LA Chargers, let's say, alignment. Do we have any data on a Michigan coach drafting an Ohio State running back?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Right, because like everybody last year was like Blake Corum is going to the Chargers. Stringer Colson is going to the Chargers.
Yep.
Did they avoid Ohio State prospects? Like, I don't know if we have any of that data.
They're probably going to take a Michigan guy this year too, I bet you.
I can confirm under Mike Vrabel, Ohio State alumni did not ever draft a Michigan player. So I don't know if it works vice versa as well. So good.
That's a good data point, though. So before we get to our last player, I want to remind the 130 plus people that are watching and listening. Thank you very much. Please like, follow, subscribe. We're going to have content on this channel every day. And tomorrow specifically, Josh, Randall, myself are going to be going through Dane Brugler's top 50 that he is releasing tomorrow. So if there's a player on it that we don't have a scouting report on, we are going to be doing the scouting report very quickly to be able to deliver it to you. I believe that's going to come at 9 Eastern and 8 Central. Okay, so the big finish, Jake, Mr. DJ Giddens, to you.
DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. We should say the team, I guess. 6'1", 200 pounds. This is a guy that was late into football, didn't start playing until a sophomore in high school. So I think you see that on tape a lot. There are intricacies that he's getting better at, but he is a natural running back. He does miss the hole at times, but this is a guy that he's a very intriguing prospect to me because – and I actually have him listed a little bit bigger. I have him at 212. I think he has size at the running back position, but he plays with a nimbleness. I think the strength isn't translated for him just yet. So he plays as an elusive back, even with that size. And that allows him to do some really cool things. I think as a receiver, natural there as well. Pass pro, getting better at that. But when he is into the open field, that little jab step he throws almost works every single time. It's almost automatic. And then he's off to the races. Athleticism, this is the guy that doesn't maybe have that burner speed, more quick than fast, I'll say. So I really like Giddens. This is the guy that I've been pondering all day when we're just talking draft stock. I don't know where to slot this cat. I could see him going in the 3rd round, but I could also see him going in the 6th. So it's very up in the air right now. And we just got to narrow that down a little bit. And maybe Josh's take will help me with that. So I'll throw it to you.
So don't really think of this guy as a comparison for Giddens, but I almost see like a Tyrone Tracy like trajectory with DJ Giddens. Like you said, he was a late bloomer at the running back position, but someone that could step into the NFL, not only be serviceable, but have the upside as well to turn into maybe a reliable starter / good starter at the next level. I think his athletic ability stands out to me. When he's in the open field, he is, like you said, very elusive. He uses that jump cut. He can make defenders miss coming from the backside of him 5 yards away from the play. He has that vision to see him out of the corner of his eye. Like you said, speed, it's not a deterrent. He doesn't have the home run speed that you're looking for in a true burner. He's a little bit of a tweener. He's almost like wanting to play with power, but he doesn't have the functional strength yet too. He's a solid finisher / yards after contact back, but he can obviously improve in that phase as well. In the passing game, like you said, he's developed quickly as a pass catcher, and he's making ways as a blocker. He has good hands out of the backfield. He has the good yard after catch threat in the open field due to his agility and speed. He will have to work on sometimes his effort and emphasis on his breaks out of the backfield, but he can line up as a slot receiver if you need him. My first-year role for him is an early down running back that can win with his vision, speed, agility, and strength while improving in the passing game. And then he could turn into a reliable starter down the line if you needed to, just because of that height, weight, athletic ability spectrum. So, like you said, I was comparing him to like where I have my stock with Devin Neal right now, and I don't know who's better between Devin Neal and DJ Giddens. I'm tossing back and forth on them, but if not going at the end of day two, he will go in the 4th or 5th round, no doubt in my mind.
So I like the Tyrone Tracy comp with the new running back. So for anybody listening, if you are not familiar with Tyrone Tracy, who is now the starting running back for the New York Football Giants, last year was the first year that Tyrone Tracy played running back, and I believe Tracy was at Purdue, right?
Yeah.
So prior to last year at Purdue, Tracy was a wide receiver. So there's definitely things in Tracy's game where he's still learning to play running back, even though he has played football for a while. And I think that analogy with Giddens is effective. Even if they're different styles of player, it's worth just noting that players can learn, players can grow, they can get better kind of thing. So this has been a great 45 minutes of scouting reports. We can take a deep breath. We've just finished 8 players in 42 minutes. So great job, everybody. And thank you to the 130 plus people that are watching and viewing the podcast right now. So thank you very much. So we're about to close out the episode. But before we close it out, Josh, any parting words?
Thank you guys again for the overwhelming support on this. This is only our 2nd episode into this. This is only my 2nd time doing a podcast or something like this in this phase. So thank you guys for sticking with me. It's a pleasure being on with you guys. Jake, always bringing it hard. Thank you, Jim, for giving this platform for us to share our reports. And yeah, it's going to be a long draft cycle with how many good running backs there are. So strap in, boys.
Yep. Jake, any parting words?
No, I definitely great show. We're building off of it. We see those views going up incrementally. We appreciate everybody in the comments, Bill, and everybody over there on Twitter. We appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you go check out the daily content that Jim's putting out, and then we will check you guys out next Monday as well.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.